Would you please shut the hell up? The champ is here.
Here we are again at the HSP, the Horseshit Bar for the Horseshit Podcast. Fitting, I think. I am Blake Mitchell, and I'm here with my two co-conspirators, Cannibal Chris Taylor and the real deal Steve O'Neill. How the fuck are you two doing?
Very, very good.
Yeah, I'm all right.
Fuck,
What's
what
up,
is your
yo?
problem,
What's-
mate?
yeah.
No, I'm all right. I'm just fine.
You sure?
You are a
Pint cup of
miserable-
No,
it.
I'm good, people. It's all good.
Pint cup of it. Did you do any kind of research about wrestlers from back
What,
in
for
the...
fucking 1900s?
Oh, Jesus.
Like someone from
Christ.
fucking
Yeah, it's in like
1901.
1900s.
Who are you referring to?
I don't
Who's
know.
the first
Who
ever
was
world
wrestling in
heavyweight champion?
1901?
You've lost the plot. Officially lost the
yeah,
plot, and we're changing your fucking. We're changing your damn segment to lost the
you're
plot,
not. No, you're not.
and we're just
Cannibal
going to review
Is fucked.
No.
sound
Oi,
bites
oi,
of your
you go through
shitness
my lawyers
over the
before
journey
you
of
do
the
that,
7
brother,
podcast.
all right?
But hey,
Our people speak to your people.
I want to
Yeah, that one.
introduce our
Hey,
guest for
thank
tonight.
you. No, I'm
Our
here every single
special-
week. Oh.
No, not you. Not you and your
fuck are we
baby
gonna
blue.
See, he's very
Don't tell me
shirt.
fucking
This is
George
why I'm not
Michael's
in
on
good-
this week. I've been emailing this motherfucker for a week. He hasn't replied to anything.
Too soon, I would have thought.
Hey, this is weeks ago.
Yeah.
No, it's 2 weeks.
No,
Still,
it was
he
fucking
still hasn't
Christmas
replied.
Day, man.
Yes.
We're trying to get other guests on the damn show. He won't reply to me.
And Kerry Fisher, too.
Nah, see, I'm not a fan of this.
Fuck, you're a
I'm not a
piece of
fan of this at all. So I'm going to
Who's
cut
next?
it off and introduce our special guest this week
Who?
from Wrestle Rampage,
Oh, this could be
the
exciting.
voice, John Farnham. No. The voice of professional wrestling in South Australia. No, I can't say that though, because that implies that you're from PWSA. So, yes, it does. The voice from Pro Wrestling South Australia. That implies he's from PWSA.
That's right. But he's not.
The voice of professional wrestling in not just South Australia, in Australia, Luke Hazard. Here he is.
Who?
Oh, wow. Gentlemen, thank
that-
you very much. What a great to be here at the Horseshit Bar.
Finally, we've got you on.
Who's this guy?
Absolute wow.
Is this another fucking stitch up or what?
Wow.
Cannibal's just gone whack straight away.
Luke, my buddy, it's good to have you on here, mate.
It is
It's really
great
good
to
to
be
have you
here,
on here,
guys.
man.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Welcome.
It is fantastic to be here at the Horseshit Bar.
Did you have a good Christmas and New Year's?
Fantastic.
What'd you do on New Year's?
New Year's, just chilled out with the family, mate. It's been a big couple of weeks in the Luke Hazard household, so it's nice just to chill out a little bit this
Man,
time.
you've had a pretty hectic time, haven't you? You've got a new bubs, you've got Christmas in between, and you've moved house. Now, if that ain't a recipe for disaster, I don't know what is.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, Steve. I think this being here at the Horseshit Bar and having a couple of cold ones, it's probably well needed right now.
You'll let some steam off, is what you're saying.
I think so.
Well, good, because Cannibal's got some hard-hitting questions, as you can imagine, Luke. I mean, you want to, if you think you look up research, in the dictionary, you see a picture of Cannibal, because he is all about the research, as you might have found out by him not knowing who superstar Billy Graham is. Please tell me, Luke Hazard.
And it's a Rick Martel as well.
And Rick Martel. Oh, you've listened.
I have
I
listened.
appreciate it.
I'm telling ya.
I listened to
Please.
a couple of episodes.
Tell me, you know who superstar Billy Graham is
Of
and
course.
the model Rick
If
Martel.
you
Of
do,
course
can
I
you please
do.
tell me who he is? Because I have no
You need to
fucking idea.
read a book or something, mate.
Fuck reading
Seriously.
books. I just watch the movies, man.
Far
Shit.
out.
He waits for the DVDs.
He
Yeah,
hasn't
that's
even
right. Blu-ray,
changed.
Blu-ray,
But no, he waits for someone else to buy the DVD and borrows them off, and that's what he does.
and never give it back.
Yeah.
Just like the knee pads I got off of Ace Wilson. There you go.
Oh, now then, that's a shoot. That's a shoot. We're going to get Ace Wilson back as well, don't
Yeah,
we?
no worries. Bring him back. I don't care.
Now then, Luke, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight into a hard-hitting question for you.
Sure.
Because that's why you're here at the end of the day. But before I do that, Wrestle Rampage, you've got a pretty big show coming up, man.
Yeah, Wrestle Rampage Reloaded, January 21st at the St. Clair Rec Centre in Woodville.
What's that place like down there at St. Clair?
Amazing. A great venue.
Acoustics?
Fantastic. Normally we're in the smaller hall. In our show in November last year, we went into the big basketball hall.
That was cool.
It was a great show, 600 plus in there. Some great matches. We sort of cemented the main event for our next show on the 21st of Mr. Juicy challenging Damien Slater for the Australian National Championship. So yeah, definitely looking forward to that show.
Damien's moved to Perth now?
He has, yes, but
So
still
he's
a part
going to
of
be okay.
yeah, still a part of the Wrestle Rampage roster.
Yep.
This, just trying to. I haven't been to a Wrestle Rampage show yet. I'm still kicking myself over it. But What 600 plus? I didn't know that still existed in South Australian wrestling. You guys must be doing something right down there.
It's been a while, hasn't it? Absolutely. So it's a really nice venue. The people at St. Clair are fantastic. The Wrestle Rampage dojo is based out of there as well. So yeah, it's a great venue and sort of fairly central for Adelaide in both sort of north and south as well. So yeah, it's a really nice place to be.
That fucking blows my mind. You know, I've wrestled. I haven't wrestled for Wrestle Rampage ever. I'm never going to claim it. But I've worked for PWSA recently, Snake Pit Pro Wrestling, ACW, HRPW, depending how far back you want to go. But I haven't seen crowds like I know that Wrestle Rampage under previous banners have done 1,000 people at Theberton Theatre and stuff over the years, but to get 600 plus, and Steve's saying close to 1,000 people, you guys have done something like... I haven't seen a crowd like that. You guys, I know you did...
Closer to 1,000 at Titanium Arena.
The Titanium, that's
it was
what I mean.
over 1,000.
There you go.
Oh,
Titanium Arena, you know, it's a big fucking building. They drew 1,000 people or whatever it was.
But to get 600 people at a recreation centre...
That is huge.
Pretty crazy.
That is a huge accomplishment, and it just proves that if a quality product is out there, and I haven't seen it, but it must be a quality product if you're getting that sort of fucking numbers out at St. Clair. So fucking props to you, Luke, and everybody at the Wrestle Rampage crew.
No, thank you very much. A lot of hard work does go into getting those shows, as we all know. We've all been there too many fucking times, really. But yeah, it does take a lot. It was great.
So now Jag, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's spending a lot of time over in Japan now?
Yeah, he's in Japan at the moment, working for 01 as a trainer and everything over there. So.
Oh, he's a trainer now over there, cool.
Yeah.
So is he going to be coming back for the shows, or...?
We'll see.
Yeah, okay.
At this stage, he's
Up in the
doing
air.
his thing, yeah.
Yeah, awesome,
Yep.
awesome.
Now look, what was your most memorable moment in your career as a commentator and as a wrestler?
Okay, commentator. There's probably two. There's two moments, I'd say.
Okay.
The very first time I commentated a wrestling show in Mount Gambier.
Yep.
I was in our real lives. Obviously, I was working. I was on night shift. I got a phone call from Cole Devani and said, "Hey, how about can you help us out and commentate this show in Mount Gambier?" No worries. Yeah, it's on Friday night. Yeah, not a problem. Easy done. Good reason to get in the bus with all the boys and have a bit of fun. Realising I also finish at 7 o'clock that morning, so then getting on the bus after that and thought I'll sleep on the bus. We've all been on road trips for wrestling. You're not sleeping on the bus.
Yes, that's right.
So yeah, it turned out to be probably about 48 hours worth of being awake, and including a wrestling show. I'd lost my voice that first time. Didn't really know how to work the microphone too well, and that's how it all started from there. So,
Who was that for? What federation?
that was for probably Joint Promotions at the time, I'd say. Yeah.
Gee, that's gone back a bit.
That was the very first time I commentated a show, yeah.
Wow. All right.
All by myself as well. Like, it was a one-man
Wow.
crew, so yeah, ringing out, seeing commentating. It was a great show that was put on through the basketball club there. It was huge. It was a big night.
You would have been shitting yourself.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Mate, I was too tired to even care about that stuff.
Oh, you were just running on Red Bull. They probably didn't even have Red Bull back then.
Yeah,
did they?
I probably had 2 drinks and fell asleep. And I think there's a few of the current wrestlers in PWSA at the moment that we roomed with, and I think I snored the whole place down. So,
Well,
sorry, boys.
you can thank your lucky stars you didn't fall asleep on that bus. Though.
Yeah. That would have been
Because
a
you
bit
could probably
scary.
kiss goodbye to your eyebrows
Yeah.
right there and
Now, also now, a memorable moment of, like, you know, as a wrestler, like.
Yeah, for me, look, let's be honest, I was a pretty shit wrestler. All right, let's go there.
You're the party starter, mate. How could you be shit?
We had some fun. I think I found my calling in ring announcing and commentating and things like that. So for a wrestler in wrestling, I had a Falls Count Anywhere match with Johnny Raddick. That was the second match with Johnny, based out of Playford. So that would have been in 2011. Memorable for me because my now wife, who was my girlfriend at the time and fairly new relationship, this was the first wrestling show that she'd come to. So I was
that
like,
right?
"Yeah, come and see me, come and see our wrestling show." And then realising, then
well, hang on. Just how did you say that to her though? Where did you meet?
well, she knew like I was involved in wrestling.
Did you work with her? Or
No, I introduced from another wrestler and
right,
wrestlers.
cool.
She was friends with the wrestler's partner. So
Yep.
I said, "Yeah, come and see the show. Come to our first wrestling show." And
Famous line.
Then
Yeah.
realising probably after that I wasn't actually just ring announcing and commentating. I was actually wrestling. And then okay, no worries. And then and then finding out that her parents and her sister and her nephew and her grandmother was coming as well.
Oh, yeah, nice.
To a Falls Count Anywhere, anything goes, hardcore match, and then obviously later on, landing in thumbtacks, pissing blood from my forehead from a frying pan shot.
Yep.
And the grandma loved it. So, hey, grandma, this is my new boyfriend, the one pissing blood and covered in thumbtacks. So, obviously it went well.
The hard work was done. You didn't have to meet him or anything.
Nah.
Do a good impression. Just come to a hardcore match and the deal is done.
Yeah, I got cleaned up afterwards after the mandatory photos, after getting the Crimson Mask taken photos of, as we all have done, and then went and said hello to them. And
you should have left the Crimson Mask on.
Yeah, I thought about
Grandma
it.
a hug.
There was some
colour on
dried
the old
bits
shoulder.
there, so yeah, it was all right.
Cool.
But yeah,
All
that was probably my most memorable.
All right, cool. All right, this is my last question that I'm going to ask you, Luke. Now, look.
Last question. We're like 10 minutes in.
This one, I just hope you'll be able to answer this one.
Oh.
Okay.
Sounds
look,
deep.
you are one of the nicest guys in this business, correct?
I like to think so.
No,
What are you asking him for?
You are. No.
He's not going to go, oh, yeah, well, you're right there, Cannibal. I
Luke,
mean, I am the nicest
He could
guy.
be vain, you never know.
Well, that's
Fuck. But no, Luke, to me, you are one of the nicest guys in this business.
I'd agree
I've
with
known
that.
you for a long time, and we've had some good times, we've had some fucked up times.
We shared a first of yours as well, if you remember.
I think so.
Do you
What then?
remember?
Yeah, what is
At
it,
the,
Cannibal?
I've had a few head knocks
at
since
the
then.
at the Elizabeth Downs Soccer Club.
Yes, I do remember, but we might have to keep that one.
Oh, that's for the...
She was underage.
that's
Hey, that's not
the
my
adults
job.
only version.
Now, listen, Luke, now you've been in, how many companies? About 3, 4 different companies?
Yeah, about that.
Right.
Yep.
And in any of these companies, has there been anybody that has pinched a nerve, pissed you off, or anything of the above? Has anyone ever done that? Has anyone pissed you off at all?
Of course I fucking have.
Can you name anyone?
Ooh, Blake.
That's not fair when the promoter's right here.
Probably you.
Oh, thanks, man.
No, look. It's an ego-driven business. We're all extremely passionate, and Blake can probably agree. We've had stand-ups and we've wanted to kill each other, and then half an hour later, the next day, we round back and go, "We cool? Yep, all good. This is where we was coming from. This is where I was coming from. Yep, cool,
Yep.
completely understandable." Look, we're all here to try to have a good time and put on a show and do something that we love. If people weren't getting, I guess, hot under the collar and things, the passion's not there. So, of course, absolutely.
Yep, cool.
I actually remember it was yourself and Tommy J for High Risk Pro Wrestling when Steve Carino was first here, and I told you guys at Golden Grove Rec Centre, maybe an hour, who knows what the fucking time was. I said, you know what, guys, we're actually not doing live commentary tonight.
Yep.
You're like, what the fuck?
Yep.
No, it's for TV. We're not doing live commentary. I remember that being a little bit hot under the collar.
And the next line was, "And I'm doing Steve's entrance." Like, you motherfucker.
You're welcome. There was,
Well, why
there
did
was
you...
a slight-
Now, hang on. You've got the voice of Pro Wrestling Australia.
Hang just on that. How hard is it to get this right? Now, and it's fitting that we're going to talk about the voice of SA Wrestling, because the man that dubbed me that is Blake Mitchell.
Is that right?
Well, he said it on the podcast. It's
Sounds
gotta
to
be
me like he was, kind of tickling your balls a little bit for taking the announcing off you for Steve Carino.
right. It would have been before that.
Yeah.
because I wasn't even wrestling on that show. I didn't wrestle for the first few months. These guys come over and help me with HRPW. Anyway, I spent a ton of money to try and make that thing happen. And I heard Carino's entrance done for Ring of Honor about the time. And the way that it was done, I was like, fuck, that's what I need to do. And,
Yep.
if I'm not wrestling on this show, if I'm not doing anything
Why
on the show...
weren't you wrestling?
Because I didn't think I needed to be on the show. I
Okay.
gave Johnny Raddick the book. I let him
Okay.
book the show.
All right, so you were purely promoting.
Purely the promoter and manager of the event. And I did that for the first couple of months.
Purely
HRPW.
promoting and firing people, like poor old Luke Hazard.
I didn't fire him.
Well, you took his job away that night.
Did I? That night? Oh, here we go. No. But I gave it back to him on TV the next day.
Oh, okay.
But no. I was like, you know what? We had a big crowd that night. We drew good money. I was 20 years old and we had a good show. And I, you know what? If this is the one thing I get to do tonight, I want to introduce Steve Carino.
Yep.
And of course, Tommy J was there, Luke was there, and it was the first international SA wrestling it really had.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So I brought Steve here, and it was a fucking pleasure. And I've put Steve over so many times in the podcast already in 6 weeks.
But why did you decide not to do live commentary?
Well, I was at one of the first, again, to do this in South Australian wrestling because it was mainly for TV to start with. But
The recording of the show.
Yeah, for the recording of the show, which actually fucked up later on.
I was going to mention it, but I thought, no, I'll let that one go.
Fucked
We've
up.
already
We had
talked about it.
I hired HD cameras for the first time.
They didn't hit the record
And
button.
we didn't. No. We hit record. We got the video.
No, on the
the
mic.
mics weren't turned on. Yeah, so yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
But no, the main reason was for TV. But the other reason was the guys should be telling. And this is still my debate today. And I'm not sure what Rampage do, and I know what PWSA do, and I don't agree with it. Live commentary I don't agree with shows. And the reason is the guys in the ring should be telling a good enough story where you don't need someone telling it for you over a microphone. So if you go in the ring and the commentator's like, oh my God, fucking Luke is behind Steve's going to hit him with a chair, then why the fuck wouldn't Steve turn around and say, Luke, fucking here's a kick to the guts? You know what I mean? So that was my thing as well.
Yep. I respectfully disagree because we don't have TV, so the commentators kind of fill in the blanks a little bit at these live shows.
I can see both points of view.
I can as well, yeah.
And let's be honest, we don't do live commentary at Wrestle Rampage, so I think my voice would be completely gone if we did. But on the other side of that, we're asking people to walk in the door and let their suspension of suspend their disbelief.
Yeah.
So a lot probably, 50% of the people will go, oh, why doesn't he just listen? But the other half are going to go, I get you. I'm just being told a story here. But yeah, 100% agree with what you're saying. There is another side to that as well. Yeah.
That's a good, fair call. And speaking of a good, fair call, Ace Wilson has just strolled in here, uninvited. He strolled in to the horseshit bar and...
without no share, comment or like.
You know, the balls on this guy you have to admire. But on the other side of the break, we're going to get him in on this conversation with Luke Hazard.
We discussed this when Ace was on the show as our guest, but Luke was there, first-hand view. You know, he had a fire extinguisher in hand, he had a fire blanket, everything else that everybody needed. I'm talking about the Flaming Tables match that High Risk Pro Wrestling put on, Cannibal Chris Taylor versus the Aboriginal assassin Ace Wilson, back in 2007, August. I'm going to throw 9 out there, who the fuck knows. But the Flaming Tables match, Luke, you were there. Ace, you went through the motherfucker. Luke, thinking back now, what are your thoughts? You've obviously been there, probably with every Flaming Tables match, apart from the most recent one for PWSA of Snake Pit Pro Wrestling.
Yep.
You've probably been there for every single one. Real Deal Steve O'Neill in the deal, Chopper Coleman, TJ Rush, Havoc, and then Ace and Cannibal. What were your thoughts with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Chopper Coleman and Havoc, I was at ringside as part of the Lumberjacks, / hang on to fire extinguishers. Aces, I was there doing the commentary. Tommy J and myself were there. I think it was actually the table that we were using that Ace went through.
Budget was low, probably.
Yeah, more than likely. Look, I think, and I didn't have much to do with it though, but I was pretty much jacked on adrenaline until about 5 o'clock the next morning. That was a really full-on night for me, and I was at ringside and. Not only did I have that thought about, okay, is this going to go well for the fans and for the show, but I had a mate in there as well that was going to be set on fire. And we knew that was coming, and that was the scary part about it. And I think I was one of the first people there with a fire extinguisher and the blanket. We had some other help around, which was great. And, yeah, so it was a big night. And obviously, Ace being the heel and Cannibal being the babyface, I got to call, here's your winner, Cannibal Chris Taylor. Try to do it in the best I possibly could when it was like, fuck Cannibal.
Pure emotion, right?
Fuck Cannibal. I was looking out for Ace, do you know what I mean? And that was, it was a huge night. It was, and like you said, I've either been in the crowd or I've been ringside for pretty much all of the Flaming Tables matches around. Very scary night.
We got Ace here too. He will speak eventually. But from the moment Ace Wilson come out with Benjamin Stevens as his manager and that sort of stuff, and when the motorbike started, this is the first time we brought the motorbike to the event, and the motorbike started, the crowd just got going. It set the pace for the whole match. Don't you agree, Luke?
Absolutely, and one of the things that I remember pretty well from that night, and listening to the podcast with Ace, and it brought back a lot of memories, and we remembered about the motorbike coming. I started talking and I looked at Tommy and I'm like, could you hear what I said?
Yeah, there's
no
point in me speaking now.
Didn't bother.
Yeah,
we just thought, you know what?
Yep.
Don't worry about it.
Let
it go. And that's one of the things that probably since then, and we're talking almost 10 years ago now, which is scary.
Fucking scary.
those sort of timings, and that was one of the moments where, I mean, I've learnt on how to read a crowd and how to go, you know what, we don't need to say anything here. Let the crowd just enjoy it for 30 seconds, which is something that a lot of new guys need to realise that, you know what, just lay out.
Chill out for a second.
Lay out for
Yep.
30 seconds. You might think, oh my God, I'm supposed to say something, but no, just let it happen. And yeah, that was a huge night.
Ace, you know, you're here. Let's get a word. I know we talked about the Flaming Tables match the other week with yourself, but you've just strolled in here to the Horseshit Bar, and Luke Hazard's here. Flaming Tables is a very special moment that we all got to experience. Cannibal's here as well still, obviously. What's going on? What were you thinking?
Like I alluded to on the podcast I was on a few weeks ago, Blake, actually, again, being a rookie into the business, and the fact that I was absolutely shitting my dacks.
And we set you on fire, yep.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is that, like you said before, that I knew what the finish was going to be.
And you did it.
I was like, okay, I'm going to be set on fire. Being rookie and just going, okay, I'm going to make this look the best that I possibly can, to put not only Cannibal over, but to put High Risk Pro Wrestling over, and to put, you know, give all the fans that have paid their good dollars to come see the event, give them the best possible outcome possible. And I think I achieved that. I think I gave them an amazing spectacle. I put my body on the line, like I said to you last time, that I actually ended up in the hospital, and I think I did my job along with Cannonball, and we put on one hell of an amazing match there, Blake.
For sure, and I agree 100% with you. No, Luke, you know, you obviously started in the business as a wrestler, as a worker, as a performer in the business, and you had many matches for many years. And you know, I still very fond of 2003. Yourself and Wolf Dog come over to and help me out hugely, which no one else was prepared to do at the time. You know, so I've always had a soft spot for you, and you've worked for me over the years, and we seem to run into each other every couple of years or so, which is great. But my big thing to you is this: you haven't had matches. I know you said 2011 you had a match, but it was off and on. You haven't been a full-time wrestler as such, which is a loose term, I suppose, in the independent scene, but you haven't been a full-time wrestler for quite some time now, and potentially done. I don't know, I'm not here to call you retirement, but is there any match, any opponent that you wish you had that you never got the opportunity to do?
Steve O'Neill. No, I'm just kidding.
Fuck you, that was Ace Wilson.
Fucking Mark.
How much are you actually paying these guys?
I knew that. I kind of knew that question was coming, so I'm like, I'm not putting Steve over.
Yeah,
nah,
fuck him.
Steve and I, we've known each other for a very long time. Look, I'd like to have good matches with everyone. Do you know what I mean? The position that I'm in now, could I get my ass in the gym and train and do some bumps and stuff? Absolutely. Do I think that that's the best position for me to be in? Probably not. Look, there'd be heaps of matches. I'd love to go one-on-one with Mr. Juicy. I'd love to go one-on-one with Damien Slater. I'd love another match with Johnny Raddick. Ace Wilson. Everyone. I'd love to have matches with these guys, but I think my position is behind the microphone, putting these guys over, getting that crowd into the show. So yeah, that's where my head is.
And again, you're one of the very few that's happy to do that. A lot of other people have an alternate agenda when they do step behind a microphone. They wish they were in there. And I'm putting this in a hypothetical now. Let's do that. If you could have one more match to end the one and only, the retirement match, not fucking real deal Steve O'Neill. Cock. Thanks for the
Put your
tequila
money
shot.
away, Steve.
Yeah. Your pineapples are no good here, all right? One match, you know, whether it's a Wrestle Rampage guy, PWSA guy, fucking WWE guy, I don't give a shit who it is. But if there was one more match you could come back for and you're in the peak of your condition, there's got to be one guy you look at and go, fuck, I would have an amazing last match with this guy.
Shit.
Yeah, exactly. We're throwing you in it, but...
There'd be two. All right.
Oh, it's a triple threat.
No,
It's a triple threat. Here we
Look,
go.
and I said it before, Mr. Juicy. I think
Yep.
he's one of the. I've seen him from many years ago, and how he's developed into the character. And as you guys know, I'm very character driven.
Exactly. I
That
agree.
would
Love
be
it.
a fantastic match. I think we could have a lot of fun with it. If I talk wrestling match, shit. To put my 16-year-old hat on, I'd love to have a match with Harley Jackson.
Yep.
Um,
Have you ever had one with him?
Never.
Singles? Really?
no,
Never.
like, training, mucking around, yeah, but never
After
match.
75 years in the
It
business, you've
feels
never
like
had
it,
a single.
yeah, absolutely.
We've looked at the hips of 75-year-olds.
Yeah, knees.
Right,
Yeah, the knees in the back.
Mine's
yeah.
the hips, so you got
Yeah.
the knees. Hope I'm kidding.
Just one thing. Now, back in the day, there was two stables going. There we
go.
One was called Heavy Duty,
Fuck me.
and the other one was called Thrill Seekers.
Jeez, here we go.
Now, what was your thoughts on the Thrill Seekers?
He's had many chair shots
The
since then. Do you
thrill
remember, Luke?
seekers that had one match together and never had any. So it was Johnny Raddick, Kincaid, and myself.
Yes.
I'm surprised you remember that.
Was it you?
Heavy Duty.
There was one more,
Cannonball,
wasn't there?
Messiah.
TJ Rush, I mean. I think TJ Rush.
I reckon that was it. It was all bald guys.
Yeah,
I think that was
yeah.
the heavy duty. I think we had
Three of the foreskins.
we had the 1 3-on-3 match together at the Octagon.
Yep.
Then there was a tag match with I reckon it was me and Johnny or Kincaid. I reckon it was Kincaid
I reckon it
against
was
you
Kincaid.
and
He was wearing the
Messiah.
khaki,
Yeah.
wasn't he?
And then that was it.
Yeah.
That was the only thing we had ever. But yeah,
Yeah.
I remember those. Jeez. Wow.
No one else does, thankfully.
That was the promoter of Maximum Power Wrestling.
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's where that's where the line is.
That's
We know who
Look,
he is.
and it was funny actually. That night was a turning point for me.
Yep.
I wanted
Well,
to.
you were a super freak the whole night.
Well, yeah, apparently. We had Destiny tag up with us at the Don Polsky Centre.
Yep.
And at half time, we had like the wrestlers go and do the autographs and signatures and all that sort of gub. So I've gone, so can I go out with the tag team part with Destiny? Oh, nah, just the girls. I'm like, oh, really? Motherfucker. Okay.
Bitch,
well,
please.
I'm going to make you want me to go out there and do it. And that turned probably 6 months later. That really turned into a big night, and I think I got voted the most popular wrestler of 2001.
Why
think he might have.
didn't he let you go out? I don't understand.
I wasn't popular enough. It wasn't I wasn't the girls. It was just let's just get the big names or the people that the popular
Yeah.
people out there.
That's right.
You know what I love more? Sorry. You know what? Before we go into it, and I know we could be all day if we talk psychology. We could get fucking 20 hours fucking talking shit on podcasts. But you know what I love about that, Luke? What you just said is that you were going to make them make you go out there, and that's what most of the guys. And I haven't seen a Wrestle Rampage show, but I can only assume everyone here in Australia, to some degree, is doing the same thing. There's not enough guys going out there going, you know what? I'm going to make you fucking book me. I'm going to make you make the people. You know, I'm going to put asses in seats and make this a business, you know, and to have that mentality over 10 years ago, almost 15 years ago, is fucking phenomenal. There's not enough guys that's been drilled into
And it's funny, there's a photo that's online at the moment. I think it's on the Luke Hazard Facebook page if you want to check that out. Luke Hazard, the voice of SA Wrestling.
Cannibal's on
nice plug.
MySpace still.
Yeah, still. Jesus.
What's
there's
Facebook?
a photo of Johnny Kincaid and myself, actually, at the little dock doors at the Octagon. I think it was the last show there, the Flaming Table show. And there's at least 100 people waiting there to sign autographs and stuff. So that to me, that was the whole I've made it type of thing. You know what I mean? That was a big turning point for me in terms of, you know what, I'm going to make people enjoy what I do. And I think some of the most popular guys at that stage, and the gimmick was I was a dude with a Hawaiian shirt and come out with a cocktail, and I was an idiot. Like, why not? I'll play with it.
Was it a real cocktail?
Sometimes it was.
Yeah,
there were times
okay.
when there was some interesting things on there, and I think the only
Sometimes I had solo, sometimes I had Sprite.
I think there was
was a couple of little pills in there every now and then.
Yeah, orange juice and some crazy stuff in there. So and that became a prop as well, which was great for some matches. So look, we had a bit of fun with it. That's what you got to do.
Well, you're actually ahead of your time because the Fallen Angel, Christopher Daniels, he came out with a cocktail at the end of the TNA run. If you've seen any
I haven't
footage.
seen it, no.
So you're way ahead of your time, Luke.
Well, I like to think so. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, because the other 7 people that watch TNA cared as well.
Yeah.
So, fuck Chris Daniels.
Wow.
I was waiting for
Whoa.
Steve to back. He had nothing there.
Nothing.
Chris Daniels was the shit.
We'll edit that out. Yeah, sure.
Fuck that, we worded it out. He just said Chris Daniels is the shits. He's a guy that booked Raven. No, hang on. I don't mean that Raven's are shits, but he booked Raven over Christopher Daniels because Christopher Daniels can't draw. And how many people did Raven draw for?
Wow.
Still, the first, not the TV tape, but the first Raven show would have drew more than Chris Daniels would have because no one knew who the fuck he was. And I know
He's got
people
a
that
point.
booked him. The guy doesn't know how to tell a story if his fucking life depended on it. Here's the fact he's never been signed by the WWE, motherfucker.
I always
Wow.
thought that
Touchy.
Blake was the king of controversy,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I think Steve's just taken the cake.
No, Steve's a fucking good
So,
cook.
Cannibal, who's Chris Daniels, mate?
Some dude that was in TNA.
Exactly.
Mates with Rick Martel.
Some bald guy.
He's certainly not Mr. Perfect.
Is that who it is?
Jesus.
Ace Wilson, as a man that just strolls into the bar uninvited, surely you've got a question for our guest Luke Hazard.
So, been a fan of you for
See
many
how he
years.
didn't deny that he wasn't invited, though? Did you know
Shut your mouth. Wait, sorry, Cannibal. That's your line. Sorry, buddy. Yeah, just a question for you, my friend. When you announce wrestling shows, you announce them very well. I appreciate your work, but I seem to get the different vibe that when you announce the women's matches, you kind of don't have the same heart or the same passion that you do with the men's matches. So is there any kind of like
animosity?
Yeah, I guess so. Animosity towards women's wrestling, or what's your view on it? Roy?
Maybe he's just educated.
Wow.
So you and I have known each other for this long, and that's the question you have for me. Far out.
He
Yeah.
already knows what your
It-
favourite colour is. Luke.
It sounds like you may have just been coached with that question, but anyway, look.
Not at all. Not at all.
I tend to think that I intro everyone as best as possible. Look, is the question, what do I think of women's wrestling? Look, I think that's a classic topic of this podcast.
What do you mean?
Generally, what do you mean? Look, personally, not a huge fan. However, I can certainly see where the class of athletes that are in wrestling today, and women actually athletes are a lot better than they used to be. Say the old Sherry Sinatra days. But from don't even worry about Cannibal. Steve knows where I'm going with that one.
Fucking involved.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Do you have no clue of the
yeah.
best wrestlers of the modern era?
Fuck
You
yeah.
have no idea
They're
about old women's.
shit. They're
Shut up.
fucking shit.
Shut your mouth.
The girls that have come from Australia, like Wrestle Rampage, for example, so you've got your Billy Kay and Peyton Royce. They've done a great job. They were great before they went to America, and they're coming along in strides. Am I someone that will tune in specifically for a women's match? Not necessarily, but you know what? I think some of the NXT stuff that's come out recently has gone. You know what? That's not a bad match. So yeah, yes and no.
Yeah,
that was really diplomatic,
I
wasn't
definitely
it?
do agree with you to an extent there, Luke Hazard, because like I do watch the NXT stuff, and like you said, the Billy Kays and the Peyton Royces, they have definitely stepped up the game towards women's wrestling, and Blake might have buried Sasha Banks and all that kind of stuff the other week, but I do enjoy watching them with their feuds, but I think sometimes too much is too much, and I do enjoy the men's main event.
I know we're trying to bury... Well, we're not trying to bury, but you're throwing it out there, trying to throw me under the bus. My opinion was I just don't think they deserve to be in the main event. It's a gimmick thing. I know Cole Devani was a big person. We've a couple of guys here that have heard of Cole Devani and had a lot to do with him. He was a big guy to say that it was like the midgets, God forbid, but it was an attraction, and that's still how I feel
Dwarfs,
today.
mate.
I don't
Dwarfs.
think they're putting
Little
asses in
people.
seats. Yeah, I feel like I got to keep defending myself, but I don't think they're putting asses in seats like they got.
So why would what? Just as you have for the last 10 years, Blake. You always have to defend yourself.
Well, so
No comment. Love it.
Luke,
He's choking. Quick, someone hit him in the
Delete.
back. Smack him in the back, quick.
Luke, do you think that a women's match will ever main event WrestleMania?
No.
All right,
Blake's
I'm just
walked out.
asking. I'm not saying that I do. I'm just. Well,
If we get to the point where that could actually happen and could sell 70,000 seats, awesome for wrestling. Do I think it's
Definitely.
ever going to happen in the next 30 years? No.
what main event period has solely sold seats in the recent times? What main event comes to mind?
Austin the Rock?
That's going. I'm talking recent times in the past 5 years.
Not. Main events don't sell tickets.
So-
it's the fact that you got wrestling. It's WrestleMania. It's like the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
No one gives a shit what teams are playing. It's WrestleMania selling.
I don't think it's wrestling. I think it's WWE. If you're looking independents or anything under WWE, main events are selling tickets. WWE is a brand like McDonald's.
Yeah.
It's selling.
It's WrestleMania. You know what I mean? That's what the thing is.
So then, doesn't that go against your argument? If no matter, basically what you're saying is, it doesn't really matter what main event you put at WrestleMania, people are going to go for the experience. So then you could put a women's match as the main event.
70,000 people still be there at the end.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a definitely good way to look at it, Steve. I don't think you still yes it's WrestleMania that sells it. Your main event has to be strong for WrestleMania. It has to be strong. Because you've got the follow up from there. You can have a mediocre main event, but you're going to have 70 to almost 100,000 people walk away with a bad taste in their mouth. Not so much.
Yep. No, I don't disagree with you. Changing the pace.
Let's do it.
Are you still a fan of pro wrestling?
Absolutely.
So you still watch the product these days?
As much as I can. Look,
purely a time thing.
Real life takes over. Unfortunately, I'm not getting paid by the WWE to live this life 100%. Look, we're Australian wrestlers. We're wrestlers in Australia. And I'm a ring announcer. Do you know what I mean? I'm not the marquee player in it. So I catch up with it as much as I can. Love checking out the old stuff on the network. Love seeing some of my old PWSA tapes from back in the day, and the old MPW and the Snake Pit, and now PWSA stuff when I can. My kids still love it. They'll watch it every now and then.
You have the network then?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
So taking Brock Lesnar and Goldberg out of it, who's your favourite wrestler on the WWE roster at the moment?
At the moment, I've never really had a favourite wrestler since Hogan was gone. I'm very much the character guy. I like what Cena's doing. I like what AJ Styles is doing. I like Roman Reigns. I think he's really good.
Too.
I enjoy what he does. Enzo and Cass, love those guys.
Yeah.
New Day, love them. I think what they do is great. And you guys are probably the same. After being in this for nearly 18 years and over half my life, I watch wrestling for different things now. I watch it for how the crowd gets involved and the little things that they do and they tweak and just their reactions.
Yep.
It's good. It's a good study. It's a good study for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree with you. All those names that you probably just mentioned are the same ones that I would have mentioned. Don't have a problem with...
KO as well. Love Kevin Owens.
You do?
Love him. And Chris Jericho, of course. Those guys are great.
I mean, Jericho, I think... I'd probably should have put him on that same list as
He's up there,
Lesnar and Goldberg.
Yeah, he's up
because,
there for sure.
That guy's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
The way he's reinvented himself time and time again is... well, it's something to marvel at, and he will 100% be in the Hall of Fame whenever he wants to be.
100% agree.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first... Again, I'm changing the pace here and completely the subject. Do you remember your first pro wrestling training session?
Vaguely.
Do you remember your nerves, or do you remember the lead up to it, or anything like that?
Yeah. The old Universal Freestyle Kickboxing Centre.
Yep.
Out at Paraka.
Research Road.
Which is still there. The smell of deep heat and that sort of that smell from people remember. Every time I smell that now, I go back to that. I remember meeting you. You were there, and we had a good conversation. I remember doing bumps on that mat floor that really didn't give a lot of give.
Those interlocking puzzle.
Yeah. I don't think I jumped in the ring for the best part of a month.
Don't you find that that's different now?
100% agree.
And I agree with that kind of old school mentality. I don't think you should have the privilege of jumping in that ring for a good 4 weeks.
You know, I'm going to throw myself under the bus here, and I think, you know, with some of the promotions we're talking about, not Wrestle Rampage, where you say they're getting in easy, I think, unfortunately, and I kick myself for this, I started that. You know, with especially South Australian wrestling, with XAW and things when I started in the business, I broke in and, you know, because when I first got in, I couldn't afford to train at the Monster Factory. I couldn't afford to do it. I was 13 years old, so I did my own way, you know, and I went and got half trained by guys that were half fucking trained. And that has just evolved. It is huge now. I was a guy that, broke in because, I forced myself to break into the business. I had some help along the way in bits and pieces, but I didn't get, to start with, it wasn't as hard as how you guys went through with Cole Devani. I paid my dues in different ways and along the way, and I've lost a ton of money. I've busted my ass. I've been I've had, been unconscious and all that sort of bullshit. I've been through the same shit, but in a different way. But I think, unfortunately, I was a part of that movement of, that guy's, he's done enough, let's throw him in a match. And unfortunately, I think I started that, and unfortunately, there's way too much of it going on. Wrestle Rampage seems very structured, and they still have that very old school mentality. I haven't seen a show, it's what I'm seeing in training, and I've heard from bits and pieces. They still have that old school structure of what Cole Devani instilled in the head guys there, and then it's going to be instilled by the Japanese style, which is very, very old school still. Unfortunately, I think I was sort of started that where it's, that guy's good enough, let's throw him in a match. And I kick myself for it today because I believe with the mentality that you guys are saying, which fucking sucks. But I just wanted to put that on record that, I feel like a cunt for that.
No, but it's cool that you can acknowledge that and say that. Kudos to you for actually admitting that.
And far be it from me to put you over, Blake. Like, let's be honest. And I think I put you over a bit. I think some of the stuff that you have been blamed / credited for over the past however many years, it certainly has lit a fire under people to get going. And you and I have had those discussions, and we've had those conversations many times. But I think you've paid your dues now, mate. Like,
no doubt.
I think you're okay now, as far as I'm concerned.
All right, guys, that's pretty much going to wrap us up for part 1 of the Luke Hazard interview. Wrestle Rampage's own Luke Hazard. We're going to turn it into a 2-parter, so be sure to check back next week for part 2. And the first question I ask him, actually, is pretty much why he chose Wrestle Rampage over PWSA, given that he lives around the corner from PWSA headquarters. And his answer is pretty interesting, so be sure to check back and listen to that and tell us what you think. And you can do that by sending us an email, thehsp@hotmail.com. As I say, next week for part 2, we're going to have Luke Hazard, and we're going to have the usual kind of segments that we normally do with word association and Cannibal Chris Taylor's You're on Notice. Guys, as always, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much for listening to us talk shit on the Horseshit Podcast. Look us up on the usual suspects: Facebook, YouTube, iTunes, Buzzsprout. Email us, thehsp@hotmail.com. We're pretty easy to find now, so get on board, guys, and we'll see you next week.